And if you change country, as you can imagine, there's a lot of signing out, signing in, packing the bag. What do I take? And then being in a completely different climate zone, but still traveling back to Europe and doing some jobs here when the fall comes up, winter comes up. So there's a lot spinning around in my head, and I'm really getting excited to go.
How much are you bringing? Are you bringing like a container or a suitcase?
The first step will be moving by airplane. So I just allowed myself a business class with maximum luggage. And then, and then depends on the apartment. They have wonderful furnished apartments, wonderful not furnished apartments. So this will depend on how much will follow.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Swiss Quality Consulting Podcast, where we explore the cutting edge of business and innovation. Today, we have a truly dynamic pairing. We're joined by our returning guest, the visionary CEO of Claruna Business Consulting, Bärbel Wetenkamp. As a top advisor on digital transformation and AI adoption, Bärbel helps leaders navigate this new world with executive presence and integrity. And for the first time on our show, please roll the drums. We're thrilled to welcome a global phenomenon known as the Creativity Explorer, Fredrik Haren. As a best-selling author and acclaimed global keynote speaker, Fredrik has inspired over 1 million people in more than 75 countries to discover their full creative potential. This episode is about the beautiful and sometimes tense intersection of their words. We will be exploring what happens to human creativity when AI becomes your co-pilot, how to lead global teams in a way that amplifies new ideas, and what it truly means to build a future where innovation is powered by both technology and humanity. This is a conversation you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. Fredrik, hello, the Creativity Explorer. Please tell our audience a little bit about your personal journey, children, wife, spouse, partner, dogs, whatever you wish, so that people can start to relate.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Well, we'll start with a private then. Why not? So I live on I live on one of the 265,000 islands that we have in Sweden with my wife, my 3 children, and a part-time dog. We have her 50% of the time, which is a great way to have a dog. When I don't live on my island, I travel around the world to explore creativity. That's what I've been doing for the last 25 plus years. And basically, I go around and I interview people about creativity. And as you said, 75 different countries. And I try to go to between 15 and 35 countries per year because I'm passionate about learning about what human creativity is all about. And I hope that we're going to have an interesting discussion about that topic today.
I'm 100% sure it will be. Bärbel?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Mark. Hi, Fredrik. Right now I'm in Switzerland. I am native German, and I moved to Switzerland 7 years ago, and I do travel quite a lot as well, but with a shorter range than Fredrik just shared. So basically in Europe, and yes, in Switzerland, because on Monday I'm going to check out in Switzerland, and then next Friday move into a very exciting, I think, new adventure, move into Oman, and to figure out if I'm able to build something new there, contribute to this wonderful, wonderful country and society.
Amazing. We will come back to that. But let's start with Fredrik. Let's start with Fredrik. Fredrik, as a creativity explorer, or the creativity explorer, how do you advise a company to harness the power of ideas from diverse global teams when AI is increasingly used to generate content and brainstorm? Does AI risk making human-led creativity feel redundant?
Oh, okay. That was a few questions. I'll start with the last one. Is AI going to make human creativity redundant? Definitely not. Will AI change human creativity? Definitely. I am very, very bullish about AI and creativity. I think it's the biggest creativity tool we have invented since we invented a pen 5,000 years ago. And if we use it right. Like any tool, we have to use it right. But used right, it's an amazing help, because for the first time, I mean, okay, let me explain the way I look at it. How can you be creative? You can sit by yourself and just reflect quietly inside of your head, which is a great way to be creative, but it's also all inside of your head. Or you can do like what we're doing now, a conversation, you brainstorm with someone else. And now I'm sharing my ideas, you're sharing, and now we are exchanging ideas. And that's totally different from sitting alone, right? Or we can write down our ideas. And when we write down our ideas, we are like brainstorming with ourselves, but on paper. But now with AI, we can now have an external entity brainstorming with us that is not another human being, which means we don't get so affected about what it's saying. We don't take it personally. We don't start arguing with it. And if we do, we can tell it, you know what, be nicer to me, be more positive. We can just change, and it will. And we can ask it to take on 100 different personas and change the personas depending on what we like. And when you use this technique correctly, it is a wonderful way. I compare it with being a twin, because I have an identical twin. And to be an identical twin is you can't explain to anyone else, because when I talk with you, I need to kind of figure out what you're thinking and how you're thinking and everything. But when I talk to my twin, he's half me, right? So suddenly the interaction goes much faster, because it feels like I'm brainstorming an external person who is myself. If we start training the AI to be like us, you can now get the same experience. You can brainstorm with yourself on the outside, which is a very, very effective way to develop ideas. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about AI and creativity, but there are many advantages with it. But I'll stop there, and we can talk about other advantages as we go on.
Sure. And how do you advise a company to harness the power of ideas?
Well, what I do as a keynote speaker, I tend to speak to large groups, and the whole idea is to get everyone in the organization to become a little bit more creative. Not the creative mavericks, but if the secretary and the driver and the cleaner and the customer service, everyone becomes slightly more creative, the whole organization becomes much more creative. So I'm trying to lift everyone. I think that's by far the best approach.
Amazing, great. Thank you very much for sharing, Bärbel. With your focus on AI adoption and executive presence, what's the core leadership behavior that is being fundamentally rewired by the integration of generative AI into daily business operations?
First of all, I see there is still like two kinds of executives: those who use AI excessively and those who haven't really started or use it in a more Google-ish way. We need to learn that we can do and we should use AI in a much different way than just asking, how do I get the fastest from A to B, or when is the next flight? So AI, of course, boosts things in terms of widen views, but also makes us much more efficient. It's super, super fast. So I know executives who, just as Fredrik explained, use it to get inspired, for example, for the next speech, to find a nice first sentence, to find an analogy, to research for some data. When you open a speech, you would want to start with data, with a question, with a number. So this is really helpful, and it makes things normally more interesting and more creative, actually. What I also see is that people use AI not in the way we should do it, because we don't use the potential, just as I said, researching some facts with one question and not having a chat, not developing it. And then executives who do not use it at all. And I think this is a pity, because it's definitely by far the biggest invention and societal change that, well, in our lifetime for sure, but probably for much longer time.
Fred, do you believe leaders would adopt AI more the day they better understand it and better control it?
I think I think no one has understood it correctly yet. I wrote my first 2 books in the 1990s about the internet. I wrote a book about internet and marketing in 1995. And so I saw, as a 20, I don't know, I think after, straight out of university, I was being asked to do corporate speeches about the internet because I was an internet expert. I had studied the internet for 10 weeks and I knew more about than anyone else because no one understood anything about the internet. And I think it's a very good analogy to that time because at that time, we decided to call it web pages, right? Because we took the analogy of the book. And now we had pages, but we can click on a link and go to a different page. That was the analogy. We still call it web pages today. But the problem is at that time, it's hard to remember now, but at that time, because we called it pages, we built websites that behaved like pages with hyperlinks. Because we're so stuck in a metaphor, we didn't understand that we could do what we're doing now, video talks or dynamic pages or see what I'm like. That whole idea of a dynamic page is an oxymoron. It doesn't make sense. And my point is, we were so stuck in the old metaphor, we couldn't understand this new thing. And we are just as stuck in the old metaphor, which is intelligence, artificial intelligence. We're so stuck in what that means because we think by using the word AI, we think we're talking about intelligence. Maybe we should not stop calling it AI because we get so stuck in what we think intelligence is. Oh, it can't feel emotions. Oh, okay, well, let's not call it that then, but let's be very the trick from the lesson from the early 90s when it came to the internet was to be extremely open-minded to what the purpose of this new technology is and to experiment a lot and not be it's also dangerous when you say, oh, now I understand. I remember when in 2000 I stopped talking about the internet because I thought now we knew how to use it. It's very dangerous. Okay, now I know how to use this. Now I figured it out. No, you haven't. We have not figured it out yet. That should be our approach.
Absolutely.
If we just add it from another perspective, this should also, I think, encourage all people who are a bit hesitant or anxious in front of AI. It's not too late to start. And as you said, there is no expert. We call each other experts, but it's new every day. And I love what you said. Maybe nobody really understood it now. So it should be really an encouragement for people who are not that much connected to it. Just go for it, discover, play, use it, integrate it, and then you go and learn. And still you will know nothing because it's new every day.
That's why I call myself the creativity explorer and not the creativity expert. Because an expert tends to believe that they have all the answers, but an explorer, per definition, does not have any answers. But he has a lot of, or he or she has a lot of questions. And I think that is. But it just popped into my head. So I'm writing a book. Actually, it's done. It's being published soon. And in this, I write about curiosity. And I think, if I'm not wrong, it's Bulgarian. I have to double check this now, but I think it's in Bulgarian. The word for curiosity is lupitan, and it means the love of asking questions. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, I love that. Amazing.
It's such a great description of what curiosity really is about.
Absolutely. I so much love that, because isn't that what opens your view on creativity? If you're not curious to learn something new, to discover, then you won't even ask the question and you won't start to think. Amazing. I love that.
Yeah. And there's a second aspect to this, because everyone understands, like, I get this question a lot as someone who studies creativity. I get this a lot and saying, Fredrik, how do I get the creative, like, how do I keep the creativity of my children? And I got this lesson from my mother, where I think, this is about raising children, but it's so applicable also for business. So when I had children very late in life, when I was like 40, and by about that time I was already an internet expert. So I said to my mom, I know creativity, I know it, but I don't know children. I don't have children. And she's a teacher. I think you have hundreds of thousands of children. How do I raise a creative child? And she said, never give the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So when a child asks you a question, instead of saying the answer, which parents and leaders like to do, all you say is, what do you think? Right? So Daddy, why is the sky blue? What do you think? And now you're teaching the child, because every child is curious. They love asking questions. Have you ever met a small child? They ask non-stop, over and over, ask, why is this? Why is that? How is this? But then the parents give the answers, and what happens? We teach people that when you have a question, you go to someone else and find the answer. But now you're teaching them, no, you have to find the answer, because the love of asking question is only the half aspect of creativity. The other aspect is the love of finding the answer, which is more of the exploration aspect of creativity. And I don't know if I haven't found the source of this, but I heard someone tell me in Sweden, there is now a daycare center in Sweden that has put the ChatGPT in the daycare with a microphone, where the little kids, the 4 and 5-year-olds, can go in and just ask it any question. And a 4 and 5-year-old, they never stop. Like, when do they stop asking questions? When the adult says no more questions, or they stop answering questions, and the child learns, oh, okay, I've asked too many questions, and they shut up. But the ChatGPT never does. So imagine this: we are now raising a generation, the next generation. We're raising a generation that will learn never to stop asking questions. That you can always ask questions, and you will always get an answer. If curiosity is the love of asking questions, and we get a new generation that just continues to ask questions, and curiosity is the catalyst of creativity, I think this could be a huge boost to human creativity. People will, okay, my mom and my dad won't answer me anymore, but I can always ask ChatGPT.
Absolutely. Fred, that was really absolutely insightful. Tell us, please, about your work on creativity and global mindset. Your work is renowned. What's one surprising lesson you've learned about the creative process from a non-Western culture? Something that you feel is particularly relevant for business in the digital age?
Okay, specifically for a digital age.
From a non-Western culture.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Two different examples comes to mind, and they are both. The first one is, okay. The first one I'll take is from Afghanistan. I interviewed a painter in Afghanistan, and now the Taliban, you can't sing and all of that. But historically, Afghanistan was a cultural superpower many hundreds years ago. And this painter, she paints as they used to paint in the olden days, and what that means is she, before she can paint, she needs to cut down a tree and make her own paper. Then she has to grind the gemstones into a small powder and mix it with water and oil or whatever, how you do it. And now she has created her own paint. Then she has to go to a cat, and apparently the best hair is on the neck of the cat. So you cut that off, you tie it to a little stick. Now you have a brush, meaning she has to do all of this before she can actually start to paint. And and the lesson here is what she called profound patience. As in, it takes weeks and weeks and weeks for her before she can finally start to paint. And she said to me, it is never the same thing when I have an idea to paint something, whatever I end up painting is never what I thought I was going to paint. But you in the West, she said, you guys, like, you order it on Amazon, it comes the next day, you start to paint, and then you're done. There's no time for this idea to grow inside of your head. And because you said the digital age is so fast. And the famous Mark Zuckerberg quote, right? Go fast and break things. That is a great idea for innovation. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but this is a totally different approach. No, let's take more time. Let's reflect on things. Let's have profound patience. It is equally correct. Creativity is a very paradoxical thing. Both of these two things can be true at the same time. Or maybe not at the same time, but both of them can be true. When's the last time you said, I need to take more time on this, instead of, we need to rush, we need to pivot, we need to change? All true, But you know what? Maybe we need some profound patience once in a while.
Absolutely. Claruna helps executives bridge the gap between tech and business. What's a compelling analogy or a metaphor you use to explain how leaders can cultivate a culture of psychological safety, which is essential for creative risk-taking, especially in a tech-driven remote environment as we are most working today?
Actually, I like to take this image, the analogy indeed of a playground of children growing up and learning. It connects a lot with what you just said, Fredrik. Because if you do not give space to people to come up with maybe stupid ideas, to discover new things where, of course, you cannot be very experienced because it's new, to try things, to think what we call think out of the box, go against this. No, we have already tried this, it didn't work. No, we don't do it that way here. What do you expect from people to come up with ideas? Yes, there is the safety, psychological safe space, but it also, I think, it kills potential, it kills creativity, it kills courage. Because if you create a set where processes are important, yeah, don't get me wrong, they are important for success, often for safety. We need to follow those, we need to know those, we need to set those up in companies. But is there space for asking questions if the process is still the right one? Also, before you start to digitize whatsoever, just don't take what is there, but rethink, get out, be creative, dare to come up with stupid ideas, with nonsense, because this is the pathway to your genius and to your change and to your growth.
Do you agree with that, Fred?
Yes, I do. And I was in Switzerland. I love the fact that you said we need processes, right? And definitely we do. But I interviewed a Swiss watchmaker, and he's a brilliant guy, really. And I was asking him, "What is your definition of creativity?" And he said, "It's something better than perfect," which I think was such a Swiss answer. So we have this perfect process on how to do something, whatever it is, like, I don't know, how to screw in a watch. And this is the perfect way to do it. But then there is, and when he said it, he started to cry and said, "But then there is an even better way. And my job is to find something that is better than perfect." And he started crying. And to me, that shows, like, yes, we can have wonderful processes, but there is always, and I mean this, there is always a better process. And so it's kind of like saying, it's the same thing where people, humans, start to think that they now understand the universe. And then over and over and over in history, we realize that, oh, we were so wrong, man. We are not the middle of the universe. The sun is not the middle of the universe, and so on. So it's the same with processes. We can have wonderful, beautiful processes, but then, you know what? There is a better. And this makes me so angry. One of the things that really makes me angry is because now people are coming up with great ideas and processes and ways to do things all over the world, but people are not looking. I think one of the saddest things with humanity is that there's so many great ideas out there and people are not picking them up. Like, I use airports as an example, especially Western airports, because I used to work with. I did a session for Changi Airport, and I love Changi Airport. It's great, wonderful airport. I think it's the best in the world. And I met them, and they said, when we built Changi Airport, we went to all the other airports the best ones. We went to Charles de Gaulle, we went to Heathrow, we went to JFK, and we looked at what are they doing that makes these airports so good. And then it took the best of each of those, and they went back and they built Changi Airport. And now Charles de Gaulle, Heathrow, JFK are terrible airports. I mean, they just suck because they haven't gone and looked at what other airports. What the hell happened? How can we have the best airports in the world and suddenly end up with some of the worst airports in the world? How is this even possible? Because you're so stuck in this idea that our process is the best.
Yes.
And I'll give you an even worse example. Sweden, where I now live, I used to live in Singapore. Singapore virtually has automated the whole airport experience. Sweden still doesn't have a single airport with a single automatic passport reading machine, which means when the 2 or 3 airplane land at the same time, you can stand in line for 45 minutes because a human needs to check your your passport. And I last time I flew, I went up to the woman in charge. The woman sitting there said, "How on earth can Sweden not have automatic passport machines when they are everywhere else?"
Yes.
And I said, even Mongolia has it, because it's true. Mongolia has automatic passport. And her reply was, "Oh, that's so cute." But if Sweden is not learning from Mongolia, something is desperately wrong with how Sweden is adapting, picking up new ideas from the rest of the world. While Singapore has more automated the whole experience, for good and for bad, but mostly for good.
Yeah, and this is keeping processes up as they were for decades, and not viewing what your customers need, and how it feels to be your customer. I would like to add a travel experience to this, and I'm sure you can connect to this, Fredrik. Both in Morocco, but also in Oman, and in other Middle East countries, I experienced when I go to a hotel. We are speaking about hospitality, What do you do when people come to your home? You receive them, you take their jackets, you offer something to drink, have a seat, relax from your travel. In many countries, you just line up in front of reception. You are tired, you have been on your feet for maybe many hours. You're there with your luggage, you just want one thing: take a shower, drink something. What they do when I arrived in Oman, and same in Morocco, first thing, a comfortable seat and a tea or a coffee and a date. And then a receptionist will come to you and take your passport. While you relax, they will do the paperwork. I was in Berlin in a 5-star hotel not long ago in the city center of Berlin. A big screen. I had to type in my passport number. I had to check in digitally. And I love digital, but this is really not the place.
Not the right time. Yes.
Next day, went to Munich. There were, 20 people in the reception. I was tired. 20 people before me, 2 poor guys at the reception, and I just stood there for 20 minutes to get my key to get to the room. You see, this is not rocket science. This is just a tiny little different approach. Take a seat. I take your passport and do the paperwork for you. Basta.
Yeah, my best experience is when you go to the hotel and they say, "Hi, I'm Mr. Fredrik," and then they have the key and we go straight to the room and they check you in my room. So they sit down at the table and say, "Let me fill out your information while you can start unpacking your bag." Now we're talking. But I have a bit of a hobby, which is kind of a self-torturing kind of a hobby. When I check into a hotel, I count how many times they need to key into the keyboard. After I say, "Hi, my name is Fredrik Haren, here's my passport, here's my credit card," they have all of that in their system already. They know I'm coming, they know who I am, and they know I'm a member of. And I start counting how many keystrokes do this person have to do.
That's a nice one.
What the hell are you doing over there? I'm not kidding. It's like hundreds and hundreds of clicks. It should be scan passport. Here's your key. Actually, the key should already be ready. I don't get it. And it just proves that there are unlimited amount of processes left in the world to make better. I wrote a book once, which is called The Developing World, where I only interviewed people in developing countries about creativity, because I had this concept that it is a stupid idea to call yourself a developed country. Because when you define yourself as developed, you're defining yourself as done, because developed means done, right?
Yes.
So you now think we're more or less done here, and you mentally start to slow down. It's like if you think you reached the finish line, you stop running. And my great example of this is like if you speak to Norway, which I do sometimes, and you ask Norwegians, the most developed country in the world, the richest country in the world, and all of that, they say, how many of you think Norway will be better tomorrow than it is today? 90% say no. Like, and I go, yeah, but it's so good here. We can't get better. 100 years from now, you're going to laugh at what Norway looks like today, and they say, how could we think we were great? We are not. Yes. Everyone is not happy or healthy or mentally. We have environmental problems. There's so many things left. So while you define yourself as a developing country, you're always constantly thinking, how can we make it better? So I think the developed world needs to redefine themselves to becoming developing countries again, and then suddenly we would see all of these processes, and oh my God, what were we thinking we were done?
Absolutely. I would like to recommend actually to our audience the book, The Developing World. I've seen it actually on Amazon. It has 5 stars out of 5. 5 stars out of 5. So I definitely recommend that reading. All right. Okay. This is all wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences. Those stories actually make this podcast even more and more interesting, and people can more and more relate. That's absolutely great. Bärbel, given your journalistic background, how do you see the role of storytelling evolving for leaders who need to communicate their vision for digital transformation, especially when AI can generate the narratives?
I think storytelling is absolutely key, not only to leaders, to everybody, because if you tell a story, it's easier to illustrate what you talk about, and then it's easier for people to connect. So you want to connect with people, you want to build relationship, you want to transmit your story. What I maybe learn more or still use today, what I learned when I started my career as a journalist, is getting into complex situations, topics, and break those down in a very simplified way and talk about things in a very not complex, not complicated way. This is something I would love to even hear more, and I often recommend in my executive coachings. Break it down, make it simple, get to the core, invite other people. So this again maybe is a little bit this expert mindset. It is not that you use the longest sentences and the most complicated words that you will bring your message into the world. So storytelling is so much more enjoyable. We all love this, and you know this since we sat around the fire and everybody tells a story. We love this, but it's also so much more enjoyable in an ever-fasting, distracting world, and it's much deeper in the understanding. I don't have science backup for this. I don't know if this is true. This is just what I feel. When someone tells me a story, I do understand his or her point much faster, much deeper, and can much more easily connect to it.
Of course, absolutely. Fredrik, I'm sure you can relate to this. Tell us, please, about storytelling, especially from your perspective as a global speaker.
Yes, I agree with everything you said, and I think, but you have to. Okay, this is how if I should add anything to it, I would like to add rhetoric to it. Yes. Because leaders need to become better storytellers, but leaders also need to become better at rhetoric. Because if you combine storytelling with rhetoric, you get stronger stories. It's not about just telling an interesting story; it's to get your point across. And a lot of people have lost their rhetorical skills. Rhetoric used to be a subject in school. I mean, maybe it is still in Switzerland, but it's not in Sweden. You would, because it's one of the most powerful tools we have. It's the act of making other people do believe what you want them to believe, right? And most people don't understand the basic rhetorical rules. When you do, you tell much more powerful stories. So a lot of people come to me and say, Fredrik, people don't buy my ideas. What should I do? And I said, you should study rhetoric, because worst case scenario, your idea might be bad, and that's why they're not buying it. But you seem very convinced that your idea is great, and they're still not buying it. Then your problem is not your creativity. Your problem is your rhetoric. You're not getting them to understand what your idea is. And I like to exemplify it with Donald Trump. So not this election, but the last election when he ran against Hillary Clinton. His slogan, and that time and still to today, is "Make America Great Again." But what was Hillary Clinton's slogan?
Who remembers?
No one remembers. Even Democrats don't remember. I think it was stronger together or better together. One of those two. It was a meaningless slogan. So it just shows that politics is the art of selling ideas. And it's not the best idea that wins. I'm not saying Hillary is better than Donald Trump. I'm just saying it's the best packaged idea that wins. And rhetoric is the art of packaging ideas. So study rhetoric.
Absolutely. Bärbel, I'm sure you can relate to this. We've had some conversations in the past where you mentioned actually how some leaders talk to you about difficulties in getting their ideas across, in convincing, in persuading.
Mm-hmm.
You want to share an example?
Yeah, I just had an executive coaching with a C-level like 4 weeks ago, and we really trained this on a back and forth play together. I gave a topic and asked to give a very short, this is my standpoint, this is the example, this is the reason I suggest something, and here again, here's my standpoint. So really a 4-finger rule. And it was impressive, this very, very intelligent person with quite a few years of experience in a C-level role, an expert in his field, of course, incapable to give me like 4 short and compelling sentences. We went from here and there and because and why, and sentences like, I cannot show those many on the screen, so sentences like this, and losing the goal, like losing the what you want to bring into the world, losing the message by talking. It was impressive to me, an experienced C-level. And then with review and repeat, I filmed this, we watched it together. He himself, he was so shocked. And I said, how can anybody understand me? But this is why I would even say communication skills are key for leaders and everybody else, very first thing, because it influences not only how you get your message through, it influences what kind of jobs you get, it influences what your relationship with your peers, but also in private life is. And storytelling is one part of this, but if you're not able to communicate your message, then you limit yourself to so much, to so many opportunities to bring up your potential, and it's just sad if you limit yourself because you do not know how to communicate. I just shared a session with a wonderful, for me, he's one of the ever best communicators in the world, which is Win Zhang. I did take a course with him and was so inspired. I regularly do work on improving because I think it's such a crucial competence to be a good communicator. And just a few days ago, I had the opportunity to follow a session with Win Zhang and this great comedian, Andrew Triago, I need to look up the name, how humor plays into this, how mimics play into this, how clear sentences, messages, and also storytelling to conclude your point, how important this is and how playful you can go with it. It's amazing, and I think we should teach it at school, and we should never in life stop to train and to improve on it. Never.
Absolutely. Fred, what do you want to say?
I might mess up this story now because but I did an interview a while back, maybe a year ago, and the client was Maersk, the head of communication at Maersk, and the CEO wanted to communicate their new strategy, and the new strategy was that we need to be more customer centric, right? Which is a very common strategy. How do you communicate? Yes. So the CEO, this is why I'm going to mess up the story. It was either Puma or Adidas. I think it was Puma, and he had a mess, and which is a client of Maersk. So they use this shoe company uses, I think it was Puma, uses Maersk to ship their shoes around the world. And the CEO had a dinner with the CEO of Puma, and the CEO of Puma gave the Maersk CEO a pair of shoes in the color of Maersk, the blue Maersk, like a one-off shoe. And
yes.
Oh, thank you so much. This is very nice. And the Maersk CEO then said, "Wait a minute. Can you do more versions of this shoe? Like, can you do a custom version?" And the guy go, "Yeah, sure. How many do you want?" And he said, "I want 300,000 of them." And they bought one pair of shoes for every employee at Maersk. Every person on every ship got a pair of shoes. And the lesson was, we have to walk a mile in our customer shoes, because Puma were customers of Maersk.
Nice.
And everyone and then they sent these shoes all around. Now, how do you communicate a customer-centric approach strategy to everyone in the company? Well, you give them a pair of shoes from the customer itself. It wasn't that beautiful. I mean, such a simplistic way, but such a hands-on or I guess a feet-on approach.
Amazing. Yeah.
And when he launched that strategy, he walks up on the stage wearing those shoes that the customer needed.
Yes. Fred, when I was preparing for this podcast, one of the first questions that crossed my mind, having myself actually received some public speaking training through the Toastmasters clubs in Geneva and Lausanne, is that in your role as a global speaker, how do you manage or how do you approach the cultural sensitivity around public speaking, knowing that actually the body language and maybe the way we speak can be perceived in a very different way in different cultures? So what maybe some people in some culture might see as actually very motivational might be seen as a bit too much maybe in some Northern European countries. Please tell me about your experience of that.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I get this, I get the question a lot, especially from other speakers who want to speak more globally. So as I said, I've spoken to, or you said, I think, spoken to 1 million people in 75 countries.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing: a lot of so-called global speakers, they will tell you, "Oh, you need to customize your speech for the local audience because you need to be sensitive to the cultures." And I say no. That sounds good, but it actually is wrong. Because if you think about it, very often when I speak at the global conferences, and suddenly now there's 500 people in the room from 80 different countries. Now, which country am I supposed to adapt my speech to? The Chinese or the American, the German or the Omani, right? You can't. So what you have to understand is, what you need to develop is not a speech for a specific culture or audience. You need to develop a human speech that works on everyone, regardless if they are Chinese or American. And Michael Jackson was once asked, "How is it to perform in Japan and people are not from your culture?" And he said something to the effect, "They laugh at the same place, they cry at the same place, and they dance in the same place. We are all human." So when you develop a speech that works on a Chinese and an Indian and a German, you now have a speech that you can do only for a group of Americans, and it will work fine for them too. And that means connecting to the human aspect of where everyone understands love, everyone understands hate, everyone understands hunger. Like, we have the human emotions, we have the when you deliver a speech on that level, everyone will appreciate it. So don't try to customize this. Try to make it.
Amazing. Bärbel, you're very often in Germany speaking in German. You're very often in other places speaking in English. Sometimes you are in Paris speaking en français. Do you customize your speech? I mean, apart from the language thing, I know that sometimes you speak in English in Paris, but actually, do you have the same perspective on trying to manage cultural sensitivity through your public speaking?
I think I would pretty much agree with Fredrik. It's the content that changes, but no, I can't remember that I have adapted a speech to a cultural background.
So you will go with your speech as you prepared it.
Can I add something?
Prepare the speech for the event or for the customer. Sure, Fredrik, sure.
Yes, Fred, please go ahead.
That is what I was going to say. When I say don't customize it, I mean don't try to make it culturally appropriate, but of course customize it to the audience, and that's what is the speech that this audience needs to hear. And very often you need to customize it more depending on industry than country. Like, is it a bunch of engineers, or is it a bunch of bankers, or is it a bunch of advertisers? So that is way more different cultures than regional or geographical cultures. And more importantly than that is to be able to read the room while you're speaking. Is this working or not? Like, I have balloon jokes that I will try in the beginning to see if they're laughing at it or not. So to know, are they is this group that will laugh or not? Do they appreciate humor or not? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you prepare. You actually don't. It's like a date. You actually don't know what the date is going to be like until you're actually at the date. So the most important speaking tip is be in the moment and feel the audience.
Absolutely. I can say I do not have any prepared speech that I would use twice. You have your topics and you adapt to the audience, and absolutely you need to be in the moment. I mean, this is like a dialogue also, even if you're speaking more than others, but it's an exchange, and you want to bring value to the audience. You don't want to bore them.
Absolutely, very much like all organizations. Yes, go ahead, please, Fred.
Sorry, I once did an 11-day silent meditation in Sri Lanka with just me and a Buddhist monk, and for 23 hours and 45 minutes per day, there was no talking, just meditate and eat and sleep. But 15 minutes per day, you got to talk to the monk. And then once he said to me, Fredrik, you always have to be in the moment. And I said, well, wait a minute. Like, I'm a speaker, so I need to prepare my speeches, right? And he goes, no, you don't prepare a speech. Always be in the moment. I said, no, come on. And like Tiger Woods, he will, this was many years ago when Tiger Woods was still the best. Like Tiger Woods, he will imagine how the ball is going to go into the hole, and then at that time he's not in the moment because he's imagining the future he wants, and then he putts, right? Shouldn't I be doing that? Shouldn't I paint a picture of myself delivering a great speech? I go, no. You should be in the moment. You should not prepare. I go, wait, should I just go up there? And he looked at me with his Sri Lankan Buddhist approach. He said, Fredrik, if you walk up on the stage and you are 100% in the moment, right there and then, not thinking out what you're supposed to be saying or how this is supposed to pan out or what they're going to think about you afterwards, you just go up and you are in the moment and you feel the room and you say exactly what you feel like saying right there and then. Don't you think you're going to deliver a great speech? And I go, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Bärbel, I often hear from you that some of your customers actually, they do not necessarily go as planned, like they do not run events as planned. And then there is a lot of improvisation, and exactly as Fred has been saying, just being in the moment and doing the best you can do.
Yeah, it's often there are surprises, even last minute or even during the day. So my customers tend to say that's what they appreciate, that I adapt fastly. And me myself, I would say I love it because I love my job every single day. And this might be a seminar or a speech or a coaching or a consulting. And there's always this surprise. Things happen in the moment and needs come up in the moment. And I have colleagues who have basically one topic. They're great experts in this, and they run the pretty much same seminar for 15 years. Now with a bit more AI approach than 15 years ago, but teaching things. Not only that, I think those things will disappear because teaching repetitive stuff, AI can do better and faster in the future. But just me personally, I would be bored to death. This is not why I love to meet people. I love to be there when they have challenges, to think with them, to change, to go along their side for a while. This is what I love about my job, and this has nothing to do with this is what I prepared and please don't deviate. This is not me, and this I think is not what helps.
Absolutely. I would like to share with you an anecdote, and I'm sure that both actually would have similar examples and anecdotes to relate to that. Once I was in Biel in Switzerland, and I had a speech to give, and I had prepared my speech, and it was about a certain topic. Just on the moment where I was going on the podium, just there, I was on my way to the podium. Somebody comes to me, whispers in my ear saying, there has been something called tsunami in some Asian countries, and a lot of people died, like maybe hundreds of thousands. So we need to talk about this, and we need to ask people to pray for the victims and for their families and show some empathy. And what are the lessons we can learn from that? I was like, wow. Now, like I had one foot actually already on the podium, and I was like, okay. And of course, it was a multicultural situation where you had people who only speak French, and some people who only speak English, and some people who only speak German, and you had to adapt to all of those. Tell us, please, or tell the public, the audience, about similar situations where just like on the drop of a hat, you had to completely change everything that you had prepared and be in the moment, as Fred and his monk were saying, or as Bärbel is saying, just improvise and do what you can see. Let's start with Fred.
Yeah, I had a kind of a similar situation. We had a foreign minister in Sweden who got stabbed at a shopping mall, and she was extremely popular. She was more popular than the prime minister, and she was bound to become the prime minister. She was really loved by everyone. And she was stabbed a few days earlier, but she was in hospital. And right before I go up to do this opening keynote, the moderator goes up and next time, yeah, I'm sad, I'm sorry, but I need to inform you that she just died. And everyone was like, oh no. Oh. And here he is, Fredrik Haren, talking about creativity. And I said, that is such bad news. But if the way I understood Anna Lind, what she would like us to do is to continue as if nothing has happened. In honor of her, I'm gonna deliver my speech as if she's still alive, because that is what I wanted. And everyone agreed, because that's exactly what she wanted. She would not stand up. She should not stand up to terrorists. And let's just continue, and let the British, carry on. And then I did, and it worked.
Absolutely. That's definitely the right thing. That was definitely the right thing. Bärbel, any similar story?
Yeah, one that happened, I think, half a year ago. I was invited to run an offsite with a management board in Germany. And in the morning at 4, the CEO and myself, we got an email from headquarters in the USA.
At 4 a.m.?
Yes, and they found it was very important that we speak about something completely different. They got to know that the board would sit together for 2.5 days, and we got this whole package, what we expect or recommend you do 2 hours before the meeting, where we had planned workshops and many things. So I told you, I shared, I like surprises and challenges, so I wasn't that stressed, just a bit. But the participants were a bit stressed about this, because they had received an agenda, they expected something, and they were kind of, wow, what's that? And this is our workshop. So yeah, there also it wasn't, of course, that dramatic, but I just reframed and said, let's take this situation as your business is changing every day. You have challenges you don't expect. How do we cope with this? What do we make out of it? So it became a double sense, if you wish. And
absolutely, yes,
we had a great 2.5 days offsite.
Absolutely. What a wonderful exchange of ideas. Talking of ideas and Ideas Island, let me put this question to Fredrik. Your CSR project, the Ideas Island, is about providing a space for creative projects. Fredrik, in a world of remote work and constant digital connectivity, What role does a physical space like an island play in fostering true creative breakthroughs?
I would say it's different for it. It's not a universal answer. It's different for different people. Some
Mhm.
people like to be in a very crowded place. Some people like to be by themselves. I'm an introvert, so for me, so I live on an island, and because I like the idea of not having neighbors. I like the idea that I can invite the people I want to talk to, not just some person living randomly next to me. But when you live on an island, like I do, you get uh, mentally disconnected from the rest of the world, and it's very calming, most importantly. And because the world can be distracting. So you can, of course, I have internet. I'm talking to you right now, but I can choose when I want to interact with the world, and I can choose when I don't want to interact with the world. This island I live on is only 18 minutes from the absolute center of Stockholm, so I still have buzz of a capital city right next to me, but I can choose when I do that. So Ideas Island is I own not one island in Stockholm, but I own two. On the other one, I let other people experience what happens when you go to an island with a project and you sit on that island for a week. Just focus on that because you are passionate about this, the distractions, right? So when is the last time you just sat and focused on a project for a week by yourself, all alone on an island, just isolated from the rest of the world? A lot of people have never done that in their lives, and it is wonderful for creativity. But
Great.
not for everyone.
That's
Some
brutally
people
honest.
say, what the hell do you do on an island? I could never live on an island.
What do people feed back to you? What their biggest benefit is when they experience this being on an island, being disconnected? What is the
That's
top
the thing. There is not one.
responses?
There's not
Yeah.
one person will go and say, "Yeah, that's just what I needed. I finished. I wrote half the book on the islands. I was very productive." Another person will go and say, "We went with a team. We were going to make a business plan, but we ended up talking about our professional lives, and two people are getting divorced after this because we just sat and got to know each other." It's totally different. Some people say I'm supposed to do so. I didn't get anything done. I just sat and fished. But I guess that's what I needed to do. There is no common reaction. Some people don't like it. Most people love it, but for different reasons. And my favorite example is this one of my favorite. I have many. This IT consultant has been an innovation IT consultant for decades. I really actually just I wish I became a painter. I wish I would have started painting. So I'm going to go and sit on the island. And I'm going to paint every day. Every day, morning and evening, just paint it. And he realized, yeah, this is what I need to do. This is what I should be doing. Why have I not been a painter? And this is years ago now. Every single day since then, he paints at least like for an hour. And now he is an artist. I mean, he commissions paintings when people send in a photo. He makes an oil painting out of it. He is amazing. That would never have happened had he not gone there and just changed his life in a different, tried a different life for a week.
Did he stop his IT job or?
No, he's still doing it, but he paints every day. Like instead of watching Netflix for an hour an evening, he paints for an hour. He does it but he needed to start. He needed that 1 week of intense painting to see that he got better in a week and say, yeah, okay, I can see progress. And then after that, he knew, and then 1 hour a day can.
It's so crucial and so amazing if you figure out what really fuels you.
And also
you don't have to do this the whole day. If you do like 20% of your awake time, things you really love, that's enough. That's enough to live a fulfilled life. But
and to be pragmatic, to question, I've been doing this, but maybe I should be doing something else. And that is also, I think, one of the saddest things we see in humans is people who continue to do things they should not be doing.
Yes.
Like people who stay in relationships where they should not have been there, or people who stay in jobs they should not have been. They become bitter and they start despising themselves and the world and their options and it's never too, it's never too late, right? That's actually why I moved to Asia. I went to Singapore when I was 20 years old, and I cruise around Asia. I said, I want to live in this part of the world. It's amazing. And I never did. And then in 2005, so what was that? I was 37 years old or something. I said, wait, I need to. I never did that. I never went and lived in Asia, and I just left everything I had in Sweden, and I moved to Asia. Started my career from scratch. I didn't know anyone. I moved to China, and it was the best thing I've ever done. I said I can live here for 6 months, and then I can go back again. I mean, I think you moving to Oman is a similar idea. Like, people don't regret. Most often, people regret the things they didn't do, not the things that they did. I mean, they regret things they do too, but more often, they regret the things they didn't do. And in fact, when people say, "Oh, I should have done that," and well, you can do it now. Nah, it's too late. No, it's too late.
Absolutely. I read this about research on very old people, that most of the time, actually, they regret things they didn't do. They regret they had the courage. They regret they took the time. They regret they didn't. But like, it's more often exactly what you said. Rather than what they have done, they regret having missed opportunities where they could have done something.
Just take this courage to jump. The rest will follow anyways. But, like for paragliding or even taking a sleigh in the Alps or something, just this moment I want to do it, and then, okay, I go.
This leap of faith, yes.
Yeah.
All right, great. Fredrik, tell us please about your new book. What's it about, your experience? Why is it still not actually something we can order today on Amazon? Tell us please about it.
There you go. Yeah, it's called The World of Creativity, as you can see there. And it's, I decided to write down 37 lessons around what I learned about creativity from 37 different countries. So there's a paper artist in Bangkok, or a Mongolian nomad, or like I said, a Swiss watchmaker. So it's lessons in creativity from humanity. I have a few people who read it and give reviews, and someone said this is the Anthony Bourdain of creativity. I think that's a great description. He traveled around the world because he loved food, but he really loved humans, and like, he wanted to understand humanity through food. I want to understand humanity through creativity, and I think when you can learn about creativity from anyone, you broaden your perspective. Not just a master chef, but also the one, when Anthony Bourdain went to a street stall in Vietnam to learn about food, then you get a different understanding of food. And I do it on all kinds of creativity. So there is even the slums. I went to the slums of Mumbai. What can we learn about creativity from the girls who live in the slums of Mumbai? Not the obvious place to go. I even went to North Korea.
Amazing.
Wow.
I started to read into it, and every page, every story is it just gets you, and it's so surprising. As you say, you can find creativity everywhere, and the view you bring on this and the kind of people you meet, it's amazing. It would be a great book.
But we can also, we can learn about creativity from everyone. But everyone also has. If you have a topic that you're fascinated about, you can learn about that from anyone. That's why I find it so interesting. Like I said, I can talk to a president about it. You can talk to a taxi driver about it, and you will learn something new.
And I would like to know, Fredrik, as you're so deep into this topic, creativity, there is people who say, I'm not so creative, often connecting this to I must be Rembrandt or Da Vinci or whoever, connecting it to arts. But I think it is our operating system as human beings. We are creative beings. And me personally, I'm just fascinated. If you give me a topic, I give you a topic, and we take the time to think together. Whatever the topic is, we will come up with something. Now, always.
Yeah.
So,
I totally agree.
So what do you say to people who say, I'm not creative, or I'm not that good at it?
Well, that was true. that was true for me. I grew up in a family where my mother was a teacher, but my father was a musician, and he could play 10 different instruments, like saxophone, flute, drums, piano, guitar, everything. And so I grew up and he was a music teacher as well, and he was a very, very, very creative. That people would come up to me still as an adult and say, I had your father in school, or I had your mother in school. They were such creative teachers. So I grew up in this world where creativity was very important, but I sucked at music. As a child, I felt for a long time creativity is important apparently, but I am not very good at it. And it took me years until I was in university when I realized, like, wait a minute, creativity is important, but I can figure out a different way to be creative. And my way of being creative is to learn from other people, and then it became, I want to learn about creativity itself. That became my creative expression, to learn about creativity, and I still suck at music. So it's so sad when people define I'm not good at one of all the million different ways you can be creative. You suck at that, and therefore you say you're not creative. It's like saying I don't like broccoli, therefore I don't like food. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So do you think everybody is creative?
Oh, I think everyone is.
100%?
Yes, but I also think that everyone is using just a few % of their creative potential. Just because I think everyone is creative doesn't mean I don't think everyone can become more creative. I think everyone could become way more creative. And the saddest thing is not the uncreative people. The saddest thing is the creative people who are not trying to become even more creative. Like the short basketball player, we can feel, it's hard to be a basketball. You can, but it's hard. But the tall basketball player who has talent and still doesn't go and practice because he's just, I'm just good at this, that's sad. So to me, I'm more depressed by the super creative people who are now doing it, just with their left hand kind of thing. I really want everyone to become more creative because it makes our lives so much better. Like, we should be 100 times more creative, all of us.
How creative was your book, Bärbel? If we talk about your book, let's talk about AI in business, please. What's it about?
Yes. It's not about AI. It's not technical. It's not about the technology. But as I shared in the beginning, I see quite a few entrepreneurs and company where there are those who decided to go strong into AI, and then there are those who didn't really start yet. And I feel the how do you call this? The blockage gets bigger and bigger because they feel they're kind of late, and then there comes answers like, we don't have the experts, or we don't have the budget, or we don't have the time, we're too busy at the moment. And AI will not disappear, and AI will be in all our lives and companies, enterprises, and so on. So I thought I wanted to bring out the message to those CEOs, managers, leaders, entrepreneurs. It's not too late, but it's not something that will go away. So embrace it. And then I also want to bring out this message that there is two things needed. The management, the owners, the entrepreneurs who decide, yes, we will go for it. And how? It's not about the AI, it's about your business. To make it better, to revolutionize, to be closer to your customer, to be more efficient, to deliver faster, to create more, to have better quality, whatever it is. There's so many approaches, for example, in healthcare and elderly care, or in everything that is administrative stuff, or in going global. There's so many approaches where AI can be a huge help. And this is what leaders need to understand and build in the strategy. Don't build an AI strategy. Build your strategy implementing an AI where you see the change to needed and to come. And on the other side, embark your people on the journey, because there's also with the employees, there's people who are afraid, who are against, who don't know where to start, who feel like they're late. And of course, you have those who are very curious and have discovered a lot of things. So how do you bring this into a company? Let people play, let people start somewhere, start small, don't make it a big thing. We will have a big budget in 5 years and then we're going to investigate. No, that's not how you do AI. So I felt I would like to bring this message out to encourage people who didn't jump on the train yet by giving a lot of examples and so on.
Okay, great. Where can people order it?
On my homepage, claruna.com. You can download it there, or you could write to me and even get a nice coupon if you want to have a view into it. Then just reach out.
Great. Okay. Question to you, Fredrik, if you allow. Having delivered more than 2,000 speeches, what's the most significant way technology, all technology, including AI, is changing the art of public speaking?
I don't know if it is the most significant, but it's something I've been thinking. I'm going to answer it. What's the latest insight I've had around this? So I've been doing a few speeches recently, and I've been noticing something recently. And it used to be that I think the level of, we were talking about rhetoric before, the level of quality of speeches from business leaders have actually improved a lot in the last few months. And I think it is because people now write their speeches and send it into AI and ask it to make it more rhetorically strong. This is great. The lowest, the people say, oh, no, people should write their own speeches. Now AI is writing the speech. Yeah, you know what? That is great if it lowers the minimum, like the lowest quality of speeches becomes better. And that means that the professional speakers now need to raise their bar. But there's another aspect of it that too. And that is, I've seen a lot of thought leaders now going in and saying, oh, now you can have my digital twin as a, but the whole idea with the AI is that we're building a huge thought, like we have this thing that can connect thoughts that we can't connect. I think it's much interesting to see how the AI is going to combine things that we haven't thought about combining. So I am a twin. I have an identical twin brother. I don't see the value of creating a clone of something that already exists. I think there's a value in creating something that doesn't exist. That's how nature generally tend to do things. So I'm much more excited about how we can figure out letting the AI combine with things in a way that we haven't thought of. That I will, and I mean, like, creativity is combining things. Like you take a phone and a computer, you combine it, you have an iPhone. That's what creativity is. And AI can now combine millions and millions of things and evaluate if they are good or bad. Not correct every time, but we are not correct every time either. So let the AI loose on investigating, combining ideas that we haven't thought of. And then people say, oh, but then the AI will come up with ideas. What are we going to do? You know what? There's so many problems left in the world to solve. When we have solved all these problems in the world, yeah, then we can worry about losing our jobs. But until we still have billions of problems in the world. So we need more entities solving them by coming up with better ideas. Humans or machines combined, let's solve more problems.
Mark, I can't hear you, Mark.
Sorry, forgive me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, sorry. Yeah, so I was saying you work with leaders on navigating change. What's a common, seemingly minor resistance to AI adoption that you found can be a symptom of a much deeper, unstated fear within an organization?
Did you ask me?
Yes, Bärbel.
Yes, okay. I was very surprised. Something like 2 weeks ago, I talked to a, what is it in English? Kaufmännischer Leiter. It's the financial and IT and thing leader, responsible person of a company of maybe 1,000 people. who has led not only finance controlling but IT over the last 30 years. So he's not an IT expert. Well, he's an IT expert. He's not an IT guy, but he has a deep understanding of technology and so on. And he told me he refuses to implement AI into the company. And he has never, today, we're in 2025, he has never used ChatGPT. And he is not using it privately because he is afraid of, fraud and stealing and who gets the data and all of those things. I understand there is things you absolutely need to look after. I'm not saying this is not important. It's even more important that companies start to look into their own AI and how they protect their data. But this guy who's really knowledgeable, it's not someone who has never touched a computer, if you see what I mean. He was in complete resistance by fear. And I started to discuss the topic, which I won't do now because this might be a bit boring, but he was a very intelligent person, but not even going into the discussion. It was total blockage by fear. I think this is dangerous because you kick yourself out. You can decide this personally, of course, no problem. But for a company, you kick yourself out of the market sooner or later because you cannot cope with what your competitors do. And even more, AI is in every company today, even those who didn't start to use AI, because all of your employees have it in their pocket and they use it. They know that they can write faster, better email speeches and so on using AI. So if you do not take this up as a company, you do not make sure your data is where it should be and you have your protected AI internally to boost the quality of your colleagues, of your employees, people will use open source, unpaid accounts, cheap stuff, and will build their presentations there. So your data is going out to the world unprotected. This also is why I strongly recommend to look into this and not to be afraid. So this guy really surprised me, but there was nothing I could do to open the mind.
Yes. Fred, your book, The Idea Book, was named as one of the 100 best business books of all time. In a world now saturated with AI-generated ideas, what do you think is the single most valuable lesson from that book today?
Yes, yeah, that was a list made by my mother. No, I'm just kidding. Well, first, I'm also very optimistic about AI, but I have to say that it's also good to be. I don't like skeptic because skeptic means that you're being negative about something. But like when people say, "Oh, we don't need coders anymore because now AI can code," I say, "Well, talk to a coder," and they will say, "No, that's actually not true. We definitely need coders, or AI can't code. You need someone who can code who can then use AI, and so we're not going to lose the coders. The coders are going to make better coding because we have AI now." But this idea of being, I don't know, positively skeptic, I think is you need to be able to have two thoughts in your head at the same time. That's where the balance should be. Not too much visionary, not definitely not this. I don't want to try it. That sounds honestly stupid. It's like saying the wave is coming. Oh, I'm not gonna look out for the wave. That's a bad strategy. But to answer your question, the idea book, because it was made as a book and a notebook where you read a little bit about creativity and then you're supposed to write down your own ideas that came from reading the books. It's a book and notebook. You read and then you interact, and the lesson in that book is you're co-creating. You are not just reading a creativity book, you are using a creativity book in order to get ideas yourself. When you're done, half of the book is written by yourself. And I think that maybe might be like an analogy. We use, in this case, the book as technology. So the idea of using technology to make yourself better. In this case, more creative, I think is the key here. How can I use technology to make myself better? Instead of thinking how will AI replace me, or how will technology replace me? It's not that. But it's the thing is, how do I become better? Then it's elevate yourself.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Bärbel, in your experience with the remote teams, how do you foster the kind of, innovation, and that often happens in physical offices, especially when digital interactions are so heavily structured today?
This makes me think back to COVID times. It was in the beginning of lockdown, and I had a wonderful project with the customer of design thinking, with a creative team to develop something new. And then the first lockdown hit, and they were, oh no, we need to grow, and what is with our business, and what is with the project, and how are we going to do, and we can't do it. So my whole calendar emptied within 3 days. I was very, very booked that time, emptied. And then, like, after 2-3 weeks, people came back and realized we still need to run our businesses. So they would call me and say, Bärbel, but how can we do this? We cannot meet. How can we do this? And then I had to be creative, how to run creativity workshops, design workshops remotely. And this, of course, is possible. Today, we all know it. I discovered stuff like Mural and Miro. And my first workshops was I would put a flip chart here and write on it, and then realized it's not so readable, and people cannot come up and post their own ideas. So this was a huge and fast learning curve, and I found a way to do very, very creative workshops remotely. And it was a great time for me because I had worked remotely a lot before already, and others hadn't back then. So I was also teaching how to lead remotely, how to create remotely, how to work remotely. But I think today this is something we all know how to do it. Fredrik, from your last experience, what you just shared, I wanted to connect to this, coming up to getting better and getting help by AI. But I would, you always have two sides. You can fall down on a horse. I would like to add to this, we should also be vigilant not to get a dumb population, because I recently had a discussion with someone who said, well, if I just throw into AI what I need to do, AI does it, I might potentially do 2, 3, or 4 jobs and just earn more money by let AI do it. As a nice idea, you can always do it, and certainly in some cases you can do it. My point is, do not let AI do your job and then be very surprised by not having a job anymore. But use it, as we have shared over the last hour, use AI as a partner, a sparings partner. I'm someone who creates, like you said, Fredrik, in brainstorming and discussing with other people. And then when I was alone, especially again during lockdowns, I started to co-create with my flip chart. I had this even 2 flip charts in my offices and started to draw and discuss and connect and do things. So I need someone to co-create, and therefore, of course, it's great. You mentioned the leaders who write their speeches and then get it improved by AI. That's great. But there's also people who start to use AI in a way like a GPS. I don't need to know where to go. I just put in what I need, and then I let the technology do it. And I think people know less maps today. Some can't even read them anymore. And then your capability, your creativity, your all kinds of capabilities that we have in our wonderful brains. And you do not learn with AI, but you could also get dumber and this is just a thought I wanted to share also.
I think I totally agree, but I think because there's this survey going around right now where they test the brains of people using ChatGPT or not, and look, their brains are not activated. But I think it's again dangerous to think that that means it's not going to make us smarter. I think if when we invented the calculator, I'm sure people were saying, "Oh, look at us, we're now worse at math." And you could argue technically we are worse at math now, because before you could do 98 plus 56 in your head like this. Now it's harder because most people do it on the calculator. So in a sense, yeah, we became dumber on doing math in our heads. But I think it would be dangerous to say that humanity is now not good at using math because we had calculators. I think the people who are good at math are now using calculators to make math that we could only dream about before we had calculators. So we should try to go that road, saying, how can we use a new technology to make us smarter? Not how can we make the new technology to make us dumber? That sounds like a bad idea.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing ideas. It was really an amazing podcast. I just can't find the right words to thank you guys. Maybe we still have a few minutes, so if each of you would like to take 2 minutes just to say any final words. Shall we start with the lady?
I'm very inspired from this exchange, and I love this stretch of technology and creativity. And as we just discussed in the very last sequence, there's such a huge excitement and potential, and things that we grow, that we learn. Also, that learning becomes so democratized. I mean, everybody around the world can learn and research about everything if you're just curious enough to come up with your questions. I love this, and I love to see it as an enriching, fascinating part for humanity, and not as a threat. And so let's be curious and use it wisely.
All right, Fredrik?
Okay, that was such a beautiful way to end. So I'm just going to add on to that, because I'm a huge fan of etymology, and the word curious comes from the Latin word cura, which is also the root for the word care, which means that which you are curious about is what you care about, or the other way around, that which you care about is what you're curious about. So if we want to become more curious, we need to figure out what we really truly care about. Because when we do care about something, that just triggers our creativity. I met my wife on a blind date, and when she walked in, I felt she's beautiful, she's funny, she's smart. And I said this date was different from all the other dates. This was like, this is the one. This is a mother of my children right here. First date, 5 hours long. Why? Because I cared about this date. I cared about this woman, which meant I became curious, and I started asking questions. Where are you going to live? How many children do you want? Tell me about your background. 5 hours, first date. So that just shows that curiosity comes when we care about something. And if we want to be creative, we need to be curious. If we want to be curious, we need to care. So figure out what you care about.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you very, very, very much. Last thing I would like to say is that we would like to inform everybody that Fredrik and Bärbel have been so generous and so kind to actually grant us a second podcast episode. So we will be hosting the same beautiful guests of today on August 18. Please do expect us here, same place, same time. Thank you very, very, very much. And I wish you all an excellent day. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.